Come get your fucking slop, piggies.
The revelation of Belle Delphine will drive mortal minds to the brink of sanity and then push it off. That's the important bit. It's all very well being on the brink of sanity, Elsa. It's when you dive off it face first into the happy madness. And that, as you were saying before we recorded, that sort of eldritch element to a certain online purveyor of, let's just say, sticky material.
You know, you say that, but I've seen her porn. It's boring.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. It really is.
I'm just saying I make better porn.
I would pay for it.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I would.
How much can I put you down for?
All of it.
All of it. Excellent. I got 2 videos.
I'll rob a bank. I'll rob a bank to afford it. I will. Don't fucking test me. I'll do it.
I mean, the requests have increased along with my bust size. The bigger the boobs, the greater the influx of requests for an OnlyFans or something of that nature. But we're not here to talk about that.
Are we?
We're not here to...
Really?
No, I don't think so. No. What we're here to talk about today, Elsa, and I will introduce you properly to that was one big bit of feedback I got from the last episode of the Trashgirl Diaries, was that you were not sufficiently introduced, and as host X, it is my dereliction. That's on me. That's on my what the gender criticals call my broad manly shoulders. That's on those, Elsa. So we will get to that, but just to establish, just to set up the topic du jour for today, I think my calling in life is to be a henchman for a criminal organization. The kind of hulking henchman for which terms like lug and galoot were made. Essentially, lummox is a great one. Essentially, I feel I should be wearing a black blazer with a grey sweater and a flat cap, and should spend most of my time beating my own palm going, "With pleasure, boss," like that. I should be sent to beat people up so I can tell boss that I'm gonna do it with pleasure.
I don't know, I always pictured you as the boss. I think you're the spitting image of the boss.
Oh, that's good.
See?
Oh.
I don't know. I always thought of you as like a non-binary version of the Kingpin from comic books.
And I mean, I did look exactly like him at one point before I lost a bit of weight, got bigger tits, and the finasteride kicked in.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say that.
I mean, I did at one point wear a white suit, and it was the spit of him. It was. But it's too much responsibility. It's like where people, claim to get this, big dom energy from me. In fact, we were talking about the pornog. I will say, it was suggested that I'd make a mint doing dom videos. Even though it's not where my heart is, I could do it.
Oh, you can do it. You can play the part.
I have provided that service in the past, and I do think I've got a knack for it, and that I wouldn't make zero money. That's the important thing. I wouldn't make zero money, but it's the responsibility. I'm responsible for so much. If you listen to the internet, I'm responsible for all manner of crimes. But I don't want that burden on me. I would much rather be the kind of person that's behind someone way smaller with a gun going, "Get 'em, boys," like that. I'd much rather be telling boss to get him.
That makes me think of the Turks from Final Fantasy VII.
The Turks from Final Fantasy VII, a game I am currently in the midst of replaying the original Final Fantasy VII.
I recently finished it for the first time.
For the first time, what did you think?
Oh, I loved it. I had to do a little think about the ending.
Oh yeah, 15-year-old me had to do a massive think about that ending. Most of the thoughts being, what the fuck?
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
Yeah, but before we actually get into the meat of the matter, don't worry, listeners. This podcast is not going to be all about how I want to be a henchman. Or some form of lug/galoot/lummox. There will be video games. Like, we just mentioned Final Fantasy VII. Like, you're already getting your money's worth, folks.
Fucking ain't right.
And if I do, set up an OnlyFans, you'll get your cunny's worth as well. But
Hey-o.
what we need to do is properly introduce you so that people know all about my fellow Trash Girl here on the Trashgirl Diaries. So maybe you'd like to tell the listeners a little about yourself. I think we've established that your name is Elsa.
Yes, my name is Elsa Farron. I rose to what meager prominence I have, literally by replying to a tweet from Jonathan Holmes saying, "May I be on your podcast, please?"
Direct and to the point.
Yeah, literally, and he just was, "Oh yeah, DM me." The podcast was talking to women about video games, and I was the only person at the time to be on that show and do a bit. And do a shtick where I portrayed the redneck Tonberry. I accidentally came up with a really shocking amount of lore for that character that never saw the light of day.
I remember, intimations.
No, there's stuff that I haven't gone public about.
Oh, I see. You're going to have to show me the almanac, the lore Bible of the redneck Tonberry. But I was a big fan of that. That's why I've always wanted to, work with you on a podcast or something because of the redneck Tonberry character and basically just how fucking funny you are. And, I think I was right to want that because, in my opinion, the first episode of the Trashgirl Diaries was great. I found it very listenable, and I don't tend to listen back to podcasts. I have to listen to myself for 24 hours. I don't need it in stereo. I can't shut my brain off because of the brain wrongs that are in it. I don't need to hear my own voice outside of my head because the voice inside my head is telling me that I'm shit. So I don't need that. But I found the Trashgirl Diaries very enjoyable. I did what I always do when I play GoldenEye 007, the N64 classic, because it was out on Xbox Live, so I played it. And I did what I always do with that game. Played the first level, thought, fuck this, and stopped. But while I did that, I listened to the first episode, and I thought it was very, very good. I thought it was very good indeed.
I liked it as well. I've listened to it a few times. And I've told anybody who will listen about it. To just be like, hey, Stephanie Sterling? Yeah, they've got a new podcast. It's got me on it.
Right.
There are people who started talking to me more because of that. Much like Jonathan Holmes, I brag about the fact that I even know you.
There's a massive amount of clout of being associated with me in 2016. Not so much now, but there's still a little bit. There's still a little bit of juice at the bottom of the bottle. And I am glad that you're here to suck on my bottom juice.
Anytime, any place. I would suck down your bottom juice in my bedroom. Mm-hmm. It has 2 beds.
Ooh, fancy.
One of which is a canopy bed.
Oh my, a canopy bed.
Oh yes, I would do it on the set of The Price is Right. I would do it in a public toilet. I would do it in a baker shop, a patisserie.
Right, yeah, like next to the eclairs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know, by the way, in Japanese, the character Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII, her name is Eclair.
Really?
Yes, because it's French for lightning.
Oh.
In a lot of languages other than English, when they reveal her given name, it's Eclair.
Eclair.
But in English, it's just Claire Farron.
Yeah.
And that's actually where I got my name, because I'm Elsa, or E, Claire Farron.
Oh, that's quite good.
Thank you. I'm proud of
That's
that.
quite good. Quite good indeed. So, obviously, we talked a lot about, well, we tried to talk a lot about Final Fantasy related things on the last episode. Didn't quite get to the meat of the matter because it wasn't even supposed to be about that. It was supposed to be about Elden Ring.
It was supposed to be about Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, the Elden Ring in my mind, and how it was kind of emblematic of just sort of my frame of mind in regards to mainstream video games in general.
Isn't it, though? I thought maybe we'd shake it up a bit, because, in all honesty, a lot of my content lately has been very RPG-focused, hinging very much skeletally from the Final Fantasy series. You know, I talked about the term Japanese RPG a couple of weeks ago on the Jimquisition.
Very good episode.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Loved the Angela White cameo in there.
Oh, well, of course, the patron saint of the Trashgirl Diaries, adult performer Angela White. Different in many ways to Belle Delphine.
In many ways, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you looked at a side-by-side comparison, you wouldn't confuse them for the same person.
I don't think so either. For starters, I don't know this for a fact, but I always envision, now that I'm thinking about them standing next to each other, I imagine in my head that Angela White is at least a foot taller, but I don't know that that's the case.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to actually imagine Belle Delphine being a foot taller than Angela White, and that disturbs me. That feels wrong.
You know what that makes me think of? That makes me think of Belle Delphine being the Bloodborne boss, Amygdala.
Oh, I'd love to see a mod of that. This has become hot again.
I mean, Amygdala's pretty...
Oh yeah, like imagine like Amygdala doing one of those Ahegio faces, going like that with the tongue out and the eyes rolling back. Like all of those like black pit-like things in its head, just all rolling up at once as it goes like that while getting sort of pounded in the ass.
It doesn't have a tongue.
Oh yeah, we'd have to graft one to it.
Or just staple it. Just staple a tongue. It's endured worse.
It has. Probably, yeah. It looks like it's been through some shit. It looks like me. It looks how I feel most days. Does Amygdala, and indeed most Bloodborne bosses. Every time I see a boss in any From Software game, my first thought is mood.
Honestly, same. Either that or just, well, I really hope this doesn't awaken something in me, and it always does.
It always does.
Stupid,
always
sexy
does.
moon presence.
Moon presence. I'd love to moon. It's... Yeah, so the point is, we're talking about Resident Evil today. I think everything that people have heard so far has prepared them for that. I think everyone just thought, oh, of course! I was wondering where this was going, but now the pieces fit.
The natural through line.
Yeah.
Now I'm imagining Angela White, like, dressed up like Lady Dimitrescu. I think she could pull it off.
Well, I'm going to be pulling it off later thinking about that now. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome, Steph.
So, earlier in the week, we were talking about the next episode of the Trashgirl Diaries. Sort of having a talk about what we might want to chat about on today's instalment. And I did ask your history experience with horror games. And it's not a lot, as you explained it to me. It's not a whole ton.
It's true. It isn't.
But you have played Resident Evil 4.
I have played Resident Evils 4 and 5.
So you've played Resident Evil 4?
Yes.
Yeah, 5 is, well, it's...
The bits with Wesker are entertaining.
The bits with Wesker are entertaining. Wesker is, he's a giggle. He's a laugh. He's loving it.
Oh, he is definitely.
Yeah.
There was that part where, like, you're fighting possessed Jill Valentine and she looks like Nina from Tekken for no reason.
Yeah, the whole with the blue and everything, yeah.
And if you play that as Sheva, the quick time event attack that she does is she jumps up and wraps her thighs around Jill's head, which certainly improved the experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
Amid all of the really, really uncomfortable racism.
Yeah.
That game is racist.
Yeah. It was released back in my sort of ignorant edgelordy days. So the game does embarrass me because I did take up for it in the day. And then looking back, I see content from the game now and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
A lot of us weren't thinking back then.
I wasn't.
There's no excuse for it, but a lot of us weren't thinking back then. I had this thought not too long ago when I played Condemned Criminal Origins and actually beat it for once.
I'm pretty sure you've beaten it more than once, Steph.
Well, if Angela White's around, then yes, of course. I'm worried that this show will eventually just turn into an Angela White fan cast. Not worried. I'm anticipating.
I'm excited that it'll turn into...
I'm quivering with excitement at the idea. I want everyone to know what gets me off. They must know it. And I should be paid to say it. God damn it. What was I saying?
This is what I love so much about you. Condemned Criminal Origins.
Right, yes, Condemned Criminal Origins. Almost every enemy in the game is a drug addict. And this game was late 2000s. And a lot of popular culture at the time just held it as a truth in media that drug addicts are less than human and it's okay to beat them up, kill them, vilify them. And obviously looking back at it now through the lens of someone who's grown as a person, learned a lot more about culture, and someone who's had one or two experiences of being a little bit too fond of painkillers as a chronic pain sufferer, I did replay it and think, oh dear.
And we're still on a semi-recent episode of Podquisition, you mentioned that you had finally gotten around to playing Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
Which I played that in April or May of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And as entertaining as it was, and it was, to roleplay as a sword-swinging maniac who believes in nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The way that game treats lower-class people is a choice.
It's certainly a decision that was made.
It feels like the bullet points were, there's going to be tits in this game, Keanu Reeves is going to be an absolute prick.
Total jackass.
Just a complete dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
And poor people are not people.
Yeah, and I suppose we do struggle with that societally still.
We do.
I live in Tory Britain, so it permeates every policy and law and regulation. You're right, it still is a prevalent thing. I think what has changed is how better our culture has become at shrouding that attitude and really sort of veiling it so it's not as apparent as, say, Condemned 2, having an entire class of enemies called meth monkeys.
Oh, dear.
We don't have that anymore. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oof.
I've not played Condemned 2. The first game it does a lot of interesting things that are worthy of study, but equally worthy of study is its attitudes towards drug addicts and how reflective it is of the time it was released, where you almost can't blame the developers. You can, but I blame them up to a point in that for a lot of us back then, we weren't brought up to question it.
No, and that's just it. If everybody around you is saying something, why would you question it?
Well, yeah, if you grow up with something that's considered a universal truth and you don't see the challenge to that, 9 times out of 10, someone's going to grow up and not question it because they don't even know the question exists. That's one of the great positives of the internet and of the globalization of the conversation, as 'twere, in that we can see those questions and ask them ourselves. Obviously, some people respond to those questions with aggression. And again, no excuse. There was a period in my life where I would do the same because change is scary. Finding out you're wrong is scary, especially if it's something you've grown up believing. If you grew up believing that certain people are bad, and then you see evidence that they're not, or anything that would question something that is a fundamental truism in your life, some people will get aggressive to that. Doesn't make it okay. The presentation of new information should absolutely inform how we are going forward. We are not our mistakes. We're what we learn from our mistakes. If we don't learn, then we're just going to be a dick. We'll be like Keanu Reeves in the Cyberpunks.
God, he's a prick.
He's such a dickhead.
Since our recording began, I've been staring at the Stranger of Paradise hat that is now sat atop my giant Tonberry plush.
Brilliant.
Which, of course, I own, because why wouldn't I?
That sounds great.
Expensive, but money well spent.
Absolutely. Tonberries in general are just awesome. And there should be more of them.
I love them so much.
They're little green guys.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
There's never an explanation for them, except in the one game where there is. Mm-hmm. The 2 games where there are.
They're just there. We're just supposed to believe that in, the world of Final Fantasy VII, or indeed any of them, we're supposed to just believe there are these little green guys running around. All of them have little brown habits on.
Yep.
Little brown dressing gowns and a big fucking kitchen knife. And we're all supposed to just believe that that is happening across the world.
Yep.
I'd go mad from the revelation. If someone knocked on my door, right, and I open it, and there's Obama is at the door, and he's just, oi, oi, Savaloy, it's me! I'm Barack Obama! No relation. Just thought I'd let you know that Tonberries are real. See you next year! I would lose my shit.
I think you would shit your pants.
I would fill my pants with human feces.
Shit would come out of your ass.
Not all of it my own.
Only most of it, I hope?
Yeah, 75%. That would slalom out of my little gasper. As Barack Obama, former president, who's going door to door doing this as part of his commitment to Tonberry awareness, is showing me little pictures. Not even drawings, photographs, because they're real.
See, the thing about that, right? Final Fantasy VII Remake had the most lovingly rendered Tonberries to date. And I did not expect them to be quite so visibly smooth. I think it was actually during the main story that you encounter the Tonberry in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it shows up unannounced, and it's really, really unfortunate how smooth it is.
Yeah, it's hairless, wrinkle-free, smooth as silk, like Andy Serkis's testicles. I imagine. I like to imagine. Frequently.
I imagine that too.
In the shower. Yeah.
You good there? You having fun there?
Yeah. So, have you, this is a question from me to you, Elsa, have you played the Resident Evil 4 remake chainsaw demo?
I have not.
Oh. So tell us about the Stranger of Paradise hat.
I think I bought it either shortly before or shortly after we recorded our first episode of the Trashgirl Diaries, and I received it. I wore it for a day. It's comfortable, as hats go, and then I placed it on the cranium of my largest plush doll of a Tonberry, who is now staring at me with those horrible yellow eyes.
Bulbous as they are.
Yeah, the way that they distend. Tonberries are freaky. It's only looking at one and being able to pick it up and examine all of its little intricacies. What kind of thing is a Tonberry? Is it an amphibian?
Yeah, it's with the green skin and the sort of, as you say, there is an amphibious look to it. There is something frog-like about a Tonberry. It's got the big bulbous eyes and the green skin. It also has the tail of a fish, which doesn't get enough credit.
It's got a big fishy tail, although there's a friend of mine named Heather who drew the redneck Tonberry and depicted her as having a tail with, like, botanical elements to it. Like it was a sort of vine-like tail with the sort of fish fins replaced with big leaves. And I thought that was a really interesting take on it.
Big leaf tree. I like that.
It is a big leaf tree.
Where do they all get their lanterns from? Like, who's making them? Do they make their own?
Who's lighting them?
Right?
And the thing that really gets me is that, like, they use the lantern to attack, but only sometimes?
Yeah. They're capricious in their ways.
They are.
I kind of want the shiny metallic Tonberry. The Bright Arts Gallery Tonberry. It's like a little figure of one, and it's all shiny and gold and shiny metallic green. That's cool. I don't have a lot of Final Fantasy tat in general.
That's alright, I have enough for both of us.
Perfect. Sorry. I've not been very well. I wasn't well last week, because we were going to record... I've been wanting to record a Trashgirl Diaries for weeks, and it's my fault that we haven't done it, because of various different emergencies and illnesses. But I'll tell you what, though, as we talk about Tonberries and whatnot, you know what would really shit me up? You know what would really freak me out, right? Is if I go to bed at night, right? Got my night petticoat on, right? I've stuck my arse over the trash can and I've done my night farts in it, just to keep them safe, you know.
For archival.
Yeah, I've started doing that now. I don't like to talk about farts. I find myself above them. But... It's a little too lowbrow. And, you know, I say that as someone who, you know, fully admits that they're quite happy to talk about shit and wanks and wanking onto a shit. But for some reason, farts have always been a sticking point. And I really should see a doctor about that. But I find them too lowbrow. I think it might be because they penetrate through my feminine mystique.
Possibly.
In some ways, I have very regressive gender views as a non-binary trans femme, but they're only directed internally. It's all internalized. And this is why I think 4, maybe 5 people on the planet Earth have ever heard me do a little butt toot.
One day, I'll be one of them.
One day you'll get that coveted honk. And if you're lucky, you might see me do it into a trash can, which I did legitimately do the other day, and it felt classy. Farting into a bin is classy. It's the right thing to do. So imagine the scenario, if you will. I like to do this sometimes. I like to imagine haunting scenarios, just to see if people find them as distressing as I do, so that I can hopefully exorcise some of my emotional trauma by passing it on. Like a chain email. So yes, I'm in bed, settling for sleepy times. I'm drifting off. My eyes flicker, and darkness.
Blessed darkness.
I'm awoken with the feeling of something in my mouth. And I am confused. But the taste is slightly sickly sweet. And I wake up and all I can see is green. All I can see is green. And all I can taste is yellow. And it pulls back whatever is in my mouth. And whatever was in my mouth is now looking directly into my eye. And then it pushes back in. And I realise that in the middle of the night, a Tonberry has crawled up through the toilet. And it is shoving its big yellow bulbous eye into my mouth.
Oh dear. Oh.
Like that.
Oh God.
And the worst part is I have a stiffy. Doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
Wow, and I thought Belle Delphine was horrifying. I, oh boy, I'm gonna be thinking about that one for a bit.
It's not grand. I'll grant you that. It's not the grandest dream that one could have. It is, in fact, quite haunting and may inform my next bout of sleep paralysis.
I mean, that beats every single nightmare that I've had about a professional wrestler.
And there's a lot of those you could have.
I have had nightmares about 4 different professional wrestlers.
Fucking hell.
And surprisingly enough, the one time that Brock Lesnar appeared to me in a dream, it was quite pleasant.
Oh, he just caress you.
Dream Brock was a nice guy. I walked over a hill, and he was walking away from a Checkers, the American fast food restaurant, Checkers.
Right.
And he was like, "Would you like a checker burger?" And I said, "Sure, thanks, Brock." And he provided.
That's quite sweet, really.
I mean, the wrestlers I've had nightmares about are the ones that you'd expect. You know, like
Darby Allin.
Yes, that's the frequent one.
Yeah.
Jerry Lawler.
I wouldn't want his eye in my mouth. I shared a plane with him once.
I'm trying to think, do I want Darby Allin's eye in my mouth?
Better that than his mouth in your eye.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Ugh. I don't want to think about what that guy has crawling around in him.
Yeah. There's no way he doesn't have a weevil up his ass.
All the time.
Yeah.
And an earwig in his nose.
He might just be full of bugs like Oogie Boogie.
Yes, Darby Allin is the Oogie Boogie of wrestling. Pull on just one strand of his idiotic hairdo, and the whole guy comes apart.
He just goes, "My bugs! My bugs!" Like that. That's a great way to go. Like if I could choose my own death, I think deflating while insects leave me while I'm screaming, "My bugs!" I think that's the way to go.
That's up there.
It's defo up there.
Being unraveled and debugged.
Yeah. Being eaten by a small gang of Mr. Mimes is another way I'd go if I could choose.
I love that you specified Mr. Mimes. That's gloriously horrifying.
Right? Well, that's another one of my scenarios. My haunting scenarios. Tonberry eye in my mouth is one. It's always at night. It's always 2 a.m. in the morning.
I'm always awake at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Good. You'll avoid these horrible scenarios. The other one, of course, is the spaceman. And I realise that is particularly gendered, but also it has to be the word spaceman. Because if I just say astronaut, you could have any number of images. But if I say spaceman, you're seeing the traditional, the white suit with the helmet, with black visor, you can't see anything.
Just faceless.
Yeah. And I frequently think that it would really shit me up if at 2 a.m. I came downstairs, went into the kitchen, and bent over with the fridge door open looking in it is a fully dressed spaceman. And then he just, he realises I'm in the room, shuts the fridge door, looks at me, and just heads towards me. That's it.
Slowly.
Oh yeah, with purpose. That would just fuck me. I wouldn't stick around for it, but it would fuck me up. It's horrible. Doesn't bear thinking about, but I think about it. The other one is a Mr. Mime thing, where, imagine if you will, 2 a.m, you hear just some scratching on the wood panelling around the window, and you open the curtains, and there's a Mr. Mime stood there with a little smile on his face, and it's looking in at you through the window. Then it just raises its fists and just starts going bash, 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 bash on the window. Just facial expression hasn't changed, but it's just going bash, 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 bash. I tell you what, that would shit me right up. Shit me up. Don't bear thinking about, does it?
It doesn't.
Don't bear thinking about.
Speaking of things that are uncomfortably smooth, Mr. Mime in Detective Pikachu.
Imagine Mr. Mime and Tonberry. the remake Tonberry, trying to dance the dance of lovers and make the beast with two backs, they'd just slide off each other.
They would.
With a squeak. Like a wet sponge on a windshield.
Or like a dragging your hand over cling film. That is... Ugh. This entire episode is just... It's not quite the lament configuration from Hellraiser. It's like the discomfort configuration.
Yeah, it don't bear thinking about, really.
Were we going to talk about Resident Evil?
Oh, yeah. What do you think of Resident Evil 4?
The first one I played, like, all the way to the end was 5. I finished 5 first.
Hell of a debut. Hell of an introduction.
I mean, I played 4. I had played 4, but I, was a stupid kid, so I got lost and waylaid a lot.
Right.
And I played 5 all the way through because it's not a horror game.
No.
But then I actually played 4. I finished Resident Evil 4 in 2021. That's a fucking good video game, isn't it?
I tell you what, it's high quality. High quality. I am tempted to re-download it and give it another go.
I could go for that.
Yeah. I
could go for that. I was excited by the prospect of the remake because I always had this weird fondness for Ashley Graham as a character.
Leon!
How rude!
No, I agree, actually. I do find her very affable.
And she's helpful when she needs to be.
Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that got a lot of praise, if I recall correctly, back when it first came out. A lot of people were impressed because escort missions were a lot more prevalent back then. They've kind of fallen out of favour with good reason. But back then, there were a lot of them still knocking about. I still remember the one from Spartan Total Warrior, which was Sega's attempt to have a go at the old Dynasty Warriors thing. It was like a spin-off of Total War. Terrible game. But I gave up on it when I reached this, you've got to get this fella. I forget who it was, but fucking Aristotle or whatever it was.
Not even a big fat fella. Not a freaky Constantino.
Nah, just some old fella in a toga. Just go, Spartan! You must escort me home! And like, it's got fucking Praetorian fucking guards fucking after him with their halberds and nonsense. And it's impossible. It's the worst escort mission in the world. But the games market was full of them back then. And Ashley in Resident Evil 4 was something of a Resident Evil revelation, if you will. In that she...
3D.
You see how I know sell it? As I just smoothly move past my brilliant
that was such a good
wordplay.
Oh, and I just said 3D under my breath. Because it only occurred to me after the moment had passed. But I couldn't not say it because I have the impulse control of the Hulk, but like early Hulk.
I know the one. But yeah, it was revelatory that you could just put her in a box.
You could.
As I say that sounds problematic, but you could just stick the girl in a box when she was inconvenient. I don't think it used those exact words on the back of the game's case.
No, it didn't.
Features. Unique limb reaction system. Shoot a Las Plagas in the leg and he'll hold it. Other features include stick a girl in a box when she's inconvenient. Yeah, I don't think that was Capcom's exact wording. But, she wasn't completely defenseless. She had places to hide. If there was a particularly tough action sequence and the game knew that you'd rather concentrate on that, she was pretty effective at keeping out of enemies' grasps. Every now and then, she might get grabbed, but it was fairly easy to get her out of that.
Yeah, just shoot them in the foot.
You just shoot them in the fucking foot. There was a handful of sections that were about keeping her safe, but for the most part, it was an unintrusive part of the game. She's a very likable character. Yeah,
like she's kind of a brat, but you'd expect that from the daughter of a affluent and influential U.S. politician.
Yeah, plus, being condescended to by Leon and getting her quote-unquote ballistics perved at by the other fella.
Luis.
Luis, that's it. You know, I'd be a bit bratty as well.
I feel for her, to be honest with you. And apparently the remake actually has given her a new outfit that I love so much, because like Resident Evil 4 takes place in 2004, and you can apparently have Ashley very much dressed like it's 2004.
Brilliant.
You can put her in like a full scene kid getup, like fucking you just know for a fact that this girl listens to nothing but MCR. and a bit of good Charlotte. Like,
yeah.
The fucking pink highlights in her hair, the striped long-sleeved shirt under a short-sleeved band shirt, really, really, really heavy eyeliner. It's like they wanted to design a new costume that makes it look like Ashley Graham wrote My Immortal.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I like that.
And like that alone has like it's weird because it's been a while since I've been particularly interested in Capcom's output, even though I know it's been at an all-time high for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But there are actually 2 Capcom games I very well may buy this year, and Resident Evil 4 is one of them.
Yeah.
The other is Street Fighter 6. I very well may. To this day, I have not played Street Fighter 5, which is weird as someone who... I used to play Street Fighter 3 every single day for hours. And it's just, it's weird as it's gotten more popular than it's ever been that I'm this lukewarm about Street Fighter.
Is there a particular reason for
that?
Yeah,
yeah, there is a particular reason. There's a particular reason for me falling off with Street Fighter, which is that it became a fucking e-sport.
Right.
And the reason I am interested in Street Fighter 6 is because there's a big woman in it.
There is a big woman.
She's very big.
I forget her name. She's like got the gladiator, like the hairstyle that's like a gladiator's helmet.
Yes, her name is Marisa.
Marisa.
And also, like, you find out that the reason her hair looks like that is because she actually wears a gladiator's helmet on the way to the ring.
Brilliant.
And her hair has been styled around it. It's a bowl cut, but it's a gladiator helmet bowl cut.
That is genius.
Infuriatingly fun character design.
Mm-hmm.
And with the talk of the game being less of a fucking execution nightmare for people like me with old, brittle hands, you know, I used to be able to do combos and stuff in games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah.
And I can do that no longer.
I never could. I don't have the motor function. I don't have the ability to memorize. Like, I've got no working memory. Almost no working memory at all. Memorizing combos is impossible for me. I can't memorize button inputs, and let alone have the coordination physically to pull them off.
Oh yeah. I still remember combos from fighting games I haven't played in years because of the extent to which fighting games have sort of lodged themselves in my mind, because I've been playing them since I was 5 and I'm now 34.
Yeah.
But like I still remember jump punch starter, I believe it's high kick, low kick, down and high punch, walk forward, high punch, jump kick, air fireball. And that's Sindel in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Huh.
I love Sindel so very, very, very much.
Is she the one with the long black hair that does screaming?
Yes, she is. Too bad you will die. One of many reasons why Mortal Kombat Annihilation is the best film of all time.
I adore, Conrad Zimmerman. You know, I recorded an episode of the Spin-Off Doctors on this very audio channel with him about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. If you go on Conrad Zimmerman's YouTube channel, he did an excellent music video cutting scenes of characters jumping about to the tune of Jump. And it is so good.
Oh,
I regularly watch it. It's amazing. But Mortal Kombat Annihilation is genuinely on my list of enjoyable bad films. I'll put The Miami Connection on there. I'll put The Room. It's an obvious one, but it's a classic. I'll put Deadly Prey on that list. And I will put Mortal Kombat Annihilation on that list. It is so genuinely entertaining in its awfulness.
It's perfect.
Truly.
Full disclosure, I have listened to the episode of the Spin-Off Doctors about Mortal Kombat Annihilation dozens, if not hundreds of times.
Whoa.
And I frequently would refer to it as my favorite episode of any podcast ever.
Oh, wow. You honor us.
Like, when it starts and you're just like, the Earth was created in 6 days! And Earth is under attack, and it is glorious! And the way that you completely lose your fucking mind as the podcast unravels, and then it just very abruptly ends. Just like the film did. It is my favorite episode of the Spin-Off Doctors, other than maybe Warcraft and Advent Children.
Because... Oh, Warcraft was that was a painful podcast to record.
I saw that movie in a theater.
Whoa.
I saw it in a theater, and I remember briefly leaving the theater because I needed a shit.
But you've just been watching Warcraft.
For a good movie, I'd hold in my shit.
Yeah.
When I went to see The Godfather at a revival theater, I held in my shit. But not Warcraft. And so I sent a text to my older sister from the toilet, and I said, the only thing I could recommend about this movie so far is a shot where a bunch of characters are walking over a bridge in the background. And in the foreground is a murloc, which is an aquatic creature from World of Warcraft. And it makes the noise that it makes in the video game, and that made me laugh a little bit. Because I remember, I played a great deal of World of Warcraft. There is a very specific pipeline to my current Final Fantasy obsession, and World of Warcraft is a spot on that journey. But murlocs are these sort of fishmen that make a very distinctive noise when they attack you. They always go like Boss Nass from Star Wars. They just took the soundbite from the game and used it in the film, and that made me laugh. And that, and one other thing that made me laugh because it reminds me of the game, were the only highlights of that fucking dreadful... Oh, no, wait, no, the first scene with, like, the orc husband and the orc wife talking to each other was actually, like, a good scene. But if anything, that made the movie worse.
Yeah, when it's front-loaded with an example that the people making this film do know how to do something good, it makes the following 2 hours of Drek feel like an explicit choice. Not that I remember anything about it, because, I've got memory issues.
I remember certain things. And that's another Spin-Off Doctors I've listened to many times. I mean, I'm pretty sure that, like, of all of the podcasts I've ever listened to, most of my favorite individual episodes have you in there somewhere. Well, except for the ending of Alice Isn't Dead. You weren't in that.
I weren't in that. I've never been in Alice Isn't Dead.
That's a good podcast. I recommend it. But, like, anybody who follows me on Tumblr at Six Gunbreaker would know that I recently posted a screenshot of a list of what I consider to be the 25 best episodes of Boston's Favorite Son.
A podcast that myself and Conrad record with the aforementioned Jonathan Holmes, who was on MTV's Road Rules, The Northern Betrayal in 1998. And Conrad and I have been trying to, like, rekindle his career against his wishes for years. And what was your best one?
The number one episode of Boston's Favorite Son, Rise of Crabnuts.
One of the all-time classics.
I have a very vivid memory of riding my bicycle down a bicycle path in Houston, Texas, listening to Rise of Crabnuts for the millionth fucking time and still having to stop my bicycle because I am just cackling at the part where Jonathan is saying something. You interrupt with, well, golly! And Jonathan just goes, oh, Jesus, crab nuts.
It's one of the funniest things that I've ever heard in my life, and I legit mean that.
It's so... just the level of sheer fucking exhaustion. It is beautiful. I love it.
I'm considering bringing crab nuts to the Jimquisition one day.
Please.
I want to get an upsetting, distressing fursuit made, and present an episode of the Jimquisition as the lovable bear crab nuts. Well, go away! That would make me happy. It would upset most of the viewers. But the ones who weren't upset would be people who I would like to invite round for dinner.
And if that's not a trash girl thing to say...
What is? Ultimately, at the end of this podcast, as we start packing up all of our picnic accoutrements, our little blanket, our sandwiches and little cake trays, and put them back in the hamper.
Butt plugs.
Oh, well, obviously, yeah, the shopping bag full of butt plugs.
I have a shoebox, actually.
Oh, well, it's sturdy.
It is.
It's sturdy. That can weather the elements.
It's full of hypodermic needles and butt plugs.
Oh, I think ultimately the lesson to be learned here is that we're both quite sexually attracted to Angela White.
Yes, because we're correct.
That is true. We come correct.
Goddamn right we do.
Ah.